G'day guys, I'm Matt Brand, and this is a full in-depth review of the 2020 Hyundai Santa Fe. The Santa Fe is Hyundai's flagship SUV, and it's a big old SUV at that. It also comes with a flagship price of almost 70,000 Australian dollars. So is it worth your flagship money? That doesn't even make sense. But is it worth your flagship money? Today we're gonna find out. Now, as always, we will start by taking a look at the exterior of the Santa Fe. Then we're gonna move on to the interior and see how it drives. And finally, we're gonna end on should you buy one. And if you are new around here, please do go down there and hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well. I release an awesome new car review every single week, so you can see as soon as they are uploaded. And make sure as well, if you do enjoy the video, to please do go down there and hit the like button. It really helps the channel, the video, it helps everything out. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Starting with the front, and the Hyundai Santa Fe was only released a couple of years ago, and subsequently it has a really nice modern design. It's worth noting that Hyundai have announced a 2021 facelift already for the Santa Fe, which has to be one of the quickest turnaround times for a facelift after a new generation has been released. Really getting some good Mo lighting going on here, really good Mo lighting. Anyway, I really like the front of the Santa Fe, and I want to start with the grille because I think it is both tasteful yet big and bold, and it's a cool look. It's not overstyled, it's not understyled. To me, it's perfectly cooked. I really love the split headlight design. The way that the daytime running lights are up top, and down below that are the low beams, high beams, and the turning signals. It's very sleek design, something I'm a big fan of. It's worth noting that the headlights are actually very functional as well. On this Highlander model, the headlights will swivel depending on how much you turn the steering wheel, so it can light up in different direction. And you also get fully LED lights, so it's nice and bright, especially when you're on a country road, something like that. And then down the bottom, if you look closely enough, you will see two LED fog lights. They're in a very small casing, but again, they're functional, they're bright, they work well. Up at the top of the grille, there is also a chrome bit that kind of connects the headlights together. It's satin chrome, so it's not too in your face, more like a matte kind of finish, like Matt Brand. And then down the bottom, like any good SUV, you have a skid plate. Don't know how functional it is because this is not really an off-roader, but hey. Moving on to the side, and I'll be honest, it's less exciting than the front. You do get cool, sharp creases and edges throughout the side. There's more satin chrome, especially down the bottom on the door sill, but it's also around the windows. And you have these nice 19-inch wheels, which do suit the car very well. They're not the most beautiful wheels, but they're certainly pretty cool. And then moving on to the rear, and just like the side, it doesn't live up to the front. Maybe it's these tail lights, which when they're not lit up, they just look pretty standard and honestly a little boring. However, at nighttime when you have the LEDs on, they are a very cool look, almost give you a 3D effect. Of course, we have another satin chrome bar which joins the rear tail lights, much like the front. Up top, you have the obligatory SUV spoiler for added aerodynamics around the Nürburgring. And then down the bottom is a massive rear diffuser. Is it functional? Probably not, but does it look cool? Yeah. And within that rear diffuser is a little cutout for the dual exhaust tips. Overall, the front is what really makes me like the Santa Fe. It is a very cool car. The side and the rear, they do a little bit less. But yeah, that front is just unique and elegant. They've really hit the nail on the head. But what do you think looks better? And I'm gonna make this one interesting. Do you think that the 2021 Hyundai Santa Fe looks better than the 2021 Kia Sorento? Underneath the surface, they are pretty much the exact same car, but they look wildly different. So go down there in the comments section. I've left a poll, so go down there and cast your votes now. Moving on to the interior, and I want to start with the overall look, layout, and feel. The interior is a suitably luxury affair. There are nice materials pretty much everywhere that you touch, although there are some stretchy plastics that make my skin crawl some places. But the way that Hyundai have really stepped up their interior game over the last decade has not gone unnoticed. The speaker covers also look really cool. And this headliner too has one of the most interesting patterns and feels that you will ever come across in a car, but I love it. Design-wise, I love the two-step dashboard. It does give an air of luxury. You have some satin chrome around the air vents too, which helps to brighten up the otherwise pretty black interior. And everything just feels deliberately and well placed. Big thumbs up for the interior. Then there are the ergonomics and functionality. Now this is very much a strong point of the Santa Fe. The steering wheel is very easy to get into a good position. It's tilting and telescoping, and the seat as well has 14 ways of movement, so you can easily get comfortable in the Santa Fe. And for an SUV, you can sit quite low, which is awesome. All around visibility is great as well, thanks in part due to the boxy design, but also there are large windows, and above your head, you do have a very large panoramic sunroof. Practicality wise, again, is a strong point for the Santa Fe. I love that the glove box is air conditioned, has a little air conditioning vent within there, and you get 2 cup holders, you get 2 USB charging points up front, a 12-volt socket, an auxiliary cable, and a wireless charging pad. So very well appointed. Moving on now, and I want to talk about these seats. Man, are these seats comfortable. As I said, you get 14 ways of adjustment, and so getting into a comfortable seating position is super easy. On this Highlander edition, you do get an extendable leg rest, there's lumbar support, and then there are the seats as well. They're made of very nice leather. They're almost perfectly bolstered and really do support you. And I like the little diamond stitching effect that's kind of going up on the top of the seats, and otherwise the design is pretty average. Looks wise, functionality is amazing. The seats are also heated and cool. Now I want to talk about the steering wheel, and for all my long-term subscribers out there, you know how much I care about my steering wheels, and this steering wheel is really good. It's made of very high quality leather, although like all other Hyundai steering wheels, it's quite soft leather and it's a little bit slippery, but it's a minor complaint. I really don't have too many issues with it. Functionality wise, it's very good. On the left, you have your media and your phone controls, and then on the right, you have your digital instrument cluster controls and your safety and cruise controls. As a quick side note, this car is fully loaded with safety tech. You of course have your pretty standard adaptive cruise control and your lane keeping assist, both of which are some of the best in the industry. But it also has safety tech, like the car will warn you if you have left the car and you've left your children in the car on potentially a hot day, which is a literal lifesaver. There's also features like when you open the door, you'll get a warning if someone is coming, like a car or a cyclist. And for people in the back seats, it won't let them open the door if it recognizes that something is coming towards them. That could save potentially a cyclist's life, or that could potentially save your child's life if there is a car coming. And then there's of course the lane keep assist, the autonomous emergency braking. This car comes very well equipped. Anyway, back to the steering wheel, and it is a heated steering wheel too. And you also get paddle shifters, which, you know, they're not the greatest, but they're not the worst. I'm not gonna complain too much about it. Moving on now, and lower trim levels of the Santa Fe come with a 3.5-inch instrument cluster. But don't worry, because if you buy the Highlander, you get a 7-inch supervision cluster. Supervision cluster has to be the most marketing jargon I have ever heard in my entire life. It's also what they call the analog dials on the i30N. So yes, you get a digital instrument cluster. It's a 7-inch screen. On the left, you have the tachometer. It's a physical tachometer. And on the right, you also have your fuel and temperature gauges. And the screen itself is actually pretty good. It shows a decent amount of information, not quite as much as the Skoda Kodiaq that I reviewed. And you can click up there to watch that. And that had a much bigger 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. But the graphics are sharp, it's a bright enough screen. When you change between the different modes, it does change the look, and you can change between analog dials or digital gauges. It is worth noting that in the 2021 facelifted Hyundai Santa Fe, you will be getting 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster to kind of compete with all the other brands out there. This system here is great. That system is even better, so you're not gonna lose. There's also a very bright heads-up display, which is one of the brightest in the industry and also one of the best in the industry. I used to say that BMW had the best heads-up displays, but Hyundai gives them a run for their money. There's also an 8-inch infotainment display that you see on every single Hyundai Kia product out there. Although again, it's worth noting it will be upgraded to a 10.25-inch display in the 2021 facelift. But as it stands now, it's great. Super bright, super color accurate. It's very functional. You have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, navigation, digital radio. It's responsive to the touch. I like that there's physical buttons around it, so it's easy to use when you're driving. I really have zero complaints about it. It's good. It does look like a little bit of an afterthought. Of course it's not, but it's just been kind of plonked on there. Would have been better if it was integrated into the dash or something like that, but it's fine. Connected to that infotainment screen is a 10-speaker Infinity sound system, which does sound really good. And there is a 360 high definition camera in this Highlander with very sharp graphics, and again, it's one of the best in the business. Moving on to the rear seats, and again, it's the same leather as up front, and so again, it's very comfortable. I have plenty of rear leg room, plenty of headroom too. Functionality is very, very good. You have 2 air vents back there, 2 USB charging points, peasant blockers, so you can block out the sun for your child so they can look at the peasants in their, I don't know, 1990s Camrys. I actually like 1990s Camrys. I don't know. You insert your own car there. The seats slide, so there is huge amount of movement in them, and also they recline very far. Heated outboard seats are a very nice touch. And you know that this is a car meant for diplomats because you can put the front passenger seat forward from the rear seat. Thankfully, there's nothing like that on the driver's side seat. That could get annoying. One minor complaint is that there isn't a separate zone for air conditioning in the back seats, which at this price point is not very good. The Skoda Kodiaq, for example, does come with a separate zone for the back seats for air conditioning, so you can't set temperature in the back. Minor complaint though. Excuse me here while I give it a bit of sauce. It's a diesel. it's a diesel. And one of the Santa Fe's key selling points is that there is a 3rd row of seats. Again, the 3rd row of seats is covered in leather. It's a nice place to be. And some reviewers have said that you can fit an adult back there, and I'm sure you can fit some heights of adults back there, but me at 5'11", I really struggle to fit back there. Even with the rear seat slid forward, it's not practical. And if you do that, you're not really gonna fit anyone in the 2nd row of seats. Headroom is just okay. It'll help move people in a pinch, but I wouldn't rely on the 3rd row of seats. If you want a car that's more practical for 3rd row, go check out my Mitsubishi Pajero Sport review, which was just a bit bigger in the 3rd row. It is functional though, because you do have, again, air vents back there, but in the 3rd row, you can actually control the fan speed. So in some ways, it's better than the 2nd row. In other ways, not so much. Quickly talking about boot/luggage space, depending on where you're from. With the 3rd row up, you get 130 liters of boot space, which is not the best. However, put the 3rd row down and you get 547 liters of boot space, which is plenty. With all 3 rows down, it's 1,647 liters of boot space. All right, I think we've spoken enough about the interior. How does the Santa Fe... How does the Santa Fe drive? Oh, I just drifted. I just drifted in a 2-ton vehicle. Oh man. Oh, I was in eco mode. I wasn't even in sport mode like I thought. Oh, okay, we're in sport mode now. I'm such a knob. Such a knob. Powering this Hyundai Santa Fe is a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder diesel engine. Like pretty much all good diesel engines out there, it is also turbocharged, and it pumps out 147 kilowatt of power and 440 newton meters of torque. All of that power is sent through an 8-speed torque converter automatic transmission developed by Hyundai Kia Genesis, and is sent to all wheels using the H-Track system, aka Hyundai's fancy name for an all-wheel drive system. It's worth noting that in the Santa Fe, the all-wheel drive system is front-wheel drive bias. So when you're driving around in comfort mode, usually it's sending most of the power to the front wheels. When you put the car into sport mode, like I very much failed to do, and I put it in eco mode, but when you put it into sport mode, it sends 50% of power to the rear wheel. Speaking of driving modes, there are 4. You have comfort, eco, sport, and smart. And smart is just changing between the mixture of comfort, eco, and sport. Changing between comfort and eco, and not much does change, to be honest. The throttle response is a little bit less, but steering is pretty much the same. When you put the car into sport mode, it definitely livens up. Steering becomes a little bit sharper, and throttle response is a bit quicker as well. In terms of its off-roading capabilities, I mean, it has some. It has a lockable center diff, and also it goes into off-roading mode where it sends 50% of power to the front and rear wheels. The Santa Fe is not a true off-roader, but it's capable enough. You can also get a naturally aspirated V6 in the Santa Fe range. And even though that is the lesser engine and comes in front wheel drive only, it is actually a little bit quicker. The 0 to 100 km an hour or 0 to 62 miles per hour for you stuck using Freedom units in this diesel is 9.82 seconds. In the petrol V6 front wheel drive, it's 8.27 seconds. So it is the faster car. However, it's not all about outright power though. The diesel does come with a lot more newton meters of torque or pulling power. And also the all-wheel drive system means that this car is more planted on the road. You see, the V6 being front-wheel drive, you get what's called torque steer, where it effectively pulls the wheels in one direction or another because it's got so much power going through those front wheels. And so the all-wheel drive will pretty much always be my pick compared to a front-wheel drive anyway. It also means you get more grip when you're in wet conditions, things like that. So there is an element of safety there too. In terms of handling, the all-wheel drive does drive just a little bit better as well because you get more grip. But handling-wise, it's pretty much the same. It's just when you turn a corner, you have a lot more confidence. Day to day though, the steering is very precise. It's not too loose like you find in so many SUVs. It feels like you're connected to the car, and that's really good. And as I said, when you change between the modes, the steering does become sharper. Suspension is also incredible. Around town, it's so well tuned. Hyundai Australia do all the local tuning for all of the cars, so they get the cars before they're released and they do the tuning, and oh wow, it's really good. You just waft. Like, you would think that this car has adaptive suspension. It doesn't, unfortunately. It's just fixed suspension, but the way that it's tuned, it takes all types of roads with ease. Usually at this price point, I would kind of complain if it didn't come with any sort of adaptive dampers, but I couldn't care less. It's so comfortable. And in terms of fuel economy, right now I'm getting 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers. To be fair, that is mainly with highway driving, but 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers, considering that I'm also doing urban driving, is pretty incredible. Again, just one of the benefits of getting a diesel car. So, is the Santa Fe worth it? Well, as I said, the Santa Fe is not a cheap car. The Santa Fe starts at $44,990 drive away. And that's for the base model active with the naturally aspirated V6 engine. Step up to the Highlander and the one with the V6, well, that's $63,640.60. A lot of sixes. And this model here, the 2.2 liter diesel Highlander, well, that's $66,850.60 Australian drive away. Now, you do get great performance out of this diesel engine, and you get a 5-year warranty. Combine that with the fact that the car is fully loaded. It comes with pretty much everything you want and you need in a car. I think, yeah, it's worth it. If I was going, I'd probably go for the trim level below with the naturally aspirated V6 engine, which is about 56,000 Australian dollars drive away, so a $10,000 savings, and you get pretty much everything you want to need anyway, and that V6 engine is a lot of fun. But if you're looking for an all-wheel drive and you just want literally everything without paying too much money, without paying BMW kind of money, then I can definitely recommend the Santa Fe. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please do go down there and hit the like button. As I said, it really helps the video, the channel, everything out. Subscribe if you are new and hit that notification bell. As I said, I release an awesome new car review every single week, so you can see as soon as that's uploaded. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and of course, I will see you next week.